The Detroit Lions have proven yet again that Lady Luck has never been in our favor with the latest news of Brian Branch being injured, getting carted off of the game against the Cowboys. How is Calvin Shepard, Dan Campbell, and the rest of the Detroit Lions going to respond? That is what we're going to get into in today's video. Welcome back to Lions Digest. My name is Brian. Thanks for tuning in. I wish I had better news for you guys, but unfortunately, Brian Branch will be done for the remainder of the season with an Achilles injury. Just absolute dagger to the heart with a defense that's already been so beat up, so tested, not just this year, but last year as well. It seems that the injury bug, it's rearing its ugly head yet again with the Lions team. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if we're feeding these guys something that's making their bones not as strong. I don't know what it is, but these guys get injured a bunch, and it's happening again. Brian Branch, and I say these guys, that might be doing a little bit of disservice to Mr. Brian Branch here because he has been unbelievable, especially with a team that has a lot of second string, third strings, and reserve players filling up the lineup right now. Having Brian Branch in there was an absolute need. You guys can all see the stats right here. Has been one of the few week one starters that has been playing throughout the entire season. 48 solo tackles, a couple of sacks to sprinkle in there. This guy was not just a safety. He actually started in the NFL as a slot corner, moved over to the safety position, and has played a lot of safety, corner, some nickel even as well. This guy was versatile. You can move him around seemingly anywhere around the defense, and he could make plays for you. He could make plays for Calvin Shepard. He made plays for Aaron Glenn, and he's out for the season. Best wishes to Brian Branch. Hope for a speedy recovery to get him back for 2026. Unfortunately, there was reports that he might miss some time in the next season as well. Hopefully, that's just a little bit of precautionary. Doctors getting a little too crazy, a little too, not crazy, but ambitious with the recovery time. Hopefully there's that. Hopefully he's able to come back next season. But for now, he's out for this season. So how are we going to respond as a team? Now, there are a few different ways that this can go. There have been some talks about picking up a player that might not be picked up on a team right now. Some have even suggested Justin Simmons. He is a little bit older. I say a little bit older in terms of NFL players, 32. He was a two-time Pro Bowler and a four-time second-team selection. This guy was an amazing operator on the field, and he's no longer playing at the moment. He's still waiting to get picked up by a team. He has expressed interest in playing for a more defensively minded team. He has thought about Houston perhaps, but the Lions, being on the fringe of a playoff spot with a coach like Dan Campbell, with a defensive coordinator like Calvin Shepard, it could be a great match for him. Now, of course, we do have our own guys to consider. We have a couple of second stringers that we could slot in there. We got Thomas Harper. He's only in his second year in the NFL. Has done some good things for us this season. Has had an interception against the New York Giants. Of course, that was the game that we played famous Jameis Winston. We also have Daniel Thomas. A little bit more experience in the NFL on his sixth year now. Both of these guys could be slotted in there. That seems like a little bit of a Band-Aid. These guys are not on the level, or at least at the moment, not on the level that Brian Branch has been playing. So these would merely be kind of like fill-ins, I think the real answer will lie in something completely different. You guys have heard me talk about them a whole bunch. They win us, they lose us games. It's going to be the defensive line. At the end of the day, these are going to be the guys that win or lose games for us. We all know about Aidan Hutchinson. I talked about Muhammad's crazy game last week. These guys are going to have to be the ones to do it. It puts a lot more pressure on them. Our secondary is beat up at the moment. We do have our middle linebackers, of course, Anzalone, Jack Campbell. Those guys are going to be incredibly important. Jack Campbell and Anzalone have been put into some coverage situations this season. with some pretty speedy wideouts, some pretty speedy running backs. So they do have the ability to, but I really believe that the defensive line is going to be the make or break right now. We gotta pressure the quarterback. If we give some of these QBs that we're playing down the stretch time in the pocket to read the coverages, to read the defense, they're gonna find the holes. There's gonna be holes with a defense, a secondary that's so, let's say, green, let's say new. There's gonna be holes. There's gonna be mistakes. We all know that 48-yard touchdown, I think maybe even 42-yard touchdown to Flournoy that Dak Prescott found. I can't even say his name. So Dak Prescott found to Flournoy at the end of the Cowboys versus Lions game. So we can't let that happen. Letting up 30 points, it's not going to win you every game. So this defensive line is really going to have to step up. We all know we are playing the Los Angeles Rams. You may have heard of this guy. Matthew Stafford is going to be their quarterback. If there's anybody that knows how to pick apart a defense, it is going to be him. Now, one big change that I noticed from from previous weeks going into last week was the change of defensive schemes. We are primarily a man coverage team. That's how we've been playing for years now. That was our bread and butter. Last week, we switched it to a zone coverage team. Now, what does this mean? Essentially, man coverage is exactly what it sounds like. You got one guy on one guy, and it is the job of the corners, it is the job of the safeties to make sure that guy doesn't get open. Now, if our defensive player gets beat, that allows for that one guy to be wide open because nobody else is helping him in coverage. Zone defense is a little more forgiving. You have particular zones that each defensive player is covering, and if an offensive player is inside that zone, it is your job to cover that player. Zone is meant for, it's easier to mitigate. It's easier for one person to help another. It's also easier for a quarterback to pick apart a zone defense as the defensive players are going to be not standing still, but once the smart and savvy quarterback like Matthew Stafford's able to recognize what each zone is in, he's able to find his receivers in the direct spot that they need to be in order to beat it. That's the danger. That's why we always liked man coverage in the past, but because we are so beat up, it looks like we're going to be switching to zone, which, again, I hate to beat a dead horse here, but that is going to mean that these guys are going to need to step up. We're going to need a big game. We need to do it. Let me know. How are we feeling about this Brian Branch injury? Is this end of the season? Do you think that our defensive line can step up in the big moments? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, make sure to subscribe and like to get notifications every time that we post a video here on Lions Digest. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys all next time. Goodbye.